Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our special event. I'm so glad that you are here. As you're popping in, please use the chat box and say hello. Please notice that we've got the option for a chat box. And so as we get into today's call, if you have questions, you're just going to raise your hand. But I'm so excited that you are here. Please introduce yourself. How are you? Where are you watching from? And I want to hear, what are you most excited to learn about today? I've got an agenda for you, which I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite conversations, as you know. And I want to know what it is specifically that you're interested in learning today. I'm going to go through my agenda, but I will make sure that I save some time towards the end of the call to go back over any questions you might have. I'll pick a couple of people for direct coaching to answer your questions specifically. And I will make sure that if you're here for a very specific reason, I'll make sure that I address any of the topics that seem relevant that maybe I hadn't addressed. So welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. Simona, hi, Adelia, Amy Wells, Anita, all the way from New Zealand, Charlene, Dana, Diane, Dolores Trinkle, what a fabulous name. Heidi, Helen, hello, everybody. Nelda had a birthday this week, you guys. Happy birthday, Nelda. It was on my calendar and I meant to email you. I think it was just yesterday. Happy birthday, and happy birthday to anybody else who's having birthdays here this week. Welcome. Please use the chat box as much as you want. I would love to hear from you. Feel free to connect with the other people that are here with us today. Super excited. Let me get my agenda up and we are going to jump right in, because if you know me, you know I have a lot to say. And that is why we're doing this. So if you're new to my community, let me explain a little bit about why we're here today. So this past December, I wanted to do something very special for the women in my community, and more specifically, the women that are on my email update list. And so I did something for the first time called the Holidays of December, and it was a month of giveaways and free stuff and coaching calls and coffee dates and programs and workouts. And it was all 100% free. It was my way of giving, because first and foremost, it's really important to me to be here for you in a way that's free so that you can learn about strength training and nutrition to transform your body and your life. And I want you to have access to a bona fide expert for free as often as possible. I want you to be educated. I want you to be one of the fitness warriors out there in the world spreading the gospel. And it's really important that I am offering as much free information as possible. Of course, I have to make a living, so I also have upgraded programs as well. But today it's all about you, and this is our final putting the bow and the ribbon on the gift of the holidays of December, to just say thank you for being here. Thank you for being in my community. I cherish you. I really appreciate you being here. I love you. And this was one of the ways that I wanted to say that. So let's jump in. Today we are talking about how to create a training plan to achieve your specific goals without wondering if you're doing it right. Because I know a lot of women like to geek out on this information. They want to learn about themselves. You might want to come to understand your fitness better. And I think many of us want to feel that we're in charge of our health and our fitness. This was me for years, long before I feel I was a credentialed coach. So when it comes to personal training, fitness coaching, and anything within this domain, I personally believe it takes about 10 years for an expert to really become credentialed. So in those early years, when I was just a little baby in New York City, I was training some of the world's most famous celebrities. For real, Natasha Richardson, Howard Stern, Courtney Love, Kelly Klein. Gosh, the list could go on and on and on. Mary McCormick. Who else was I training back then? So many people. And yet, I actually don't think I really became an expert for another 10 or 15 years. And so, even back in those times, I was applying the education that I got to my clients, but I was experimenting on myself. And it took me way too long to hire someone else to help me with my body. So I get it. If you really want to learn about your body, if you want to learn about how to program your fitness plan for yourself, and if you just want to be in charge, that's what we're going to be doing here today. So, this is for you. If you like to self manage, if you just like to geek out on fitness, if you like to geek out on your learning, if you just really want to feel and learn from the information that's out there and to become a bit of a scientist with your own body. This is also for you if you want to learn about your body through your fitness journey. Now, in a moment, I'm going to talk about the 5 components of fitness. And one of those components takes into consideration something called body composition. We'll talk about that in a moment. And a big part of body composition is nutrition. But today, we're not going to be talking a lot about nutrition. Today's conversation really is largely fitness focused. And that's because creating your own training plan really is an art and a science. And we can get more specific than that. Creating your strength training plan is an art and a science. And that doesn't even take into account your cardio plan or your mobility plan or your injury recovery plan, right? So the field of my domain, what I talk about, is really involved. It really is an art and a science. And there's not enough hours really in the world for me to be able to share all of my information with you. But today we're going to focus on specifically your fitness programming, your fitness planning that takes into account your strength and conditioning and your cardio. And while I'll touch upon the concept of nutrition, we're not going to be talking about that in depth, but I will be happy to answer any questions, provided they're not super in depth and provided they're not too personalized to your situation. So this is a group public call, and I want to make sure that whatever questions come forward will serve all of us, but I'm happy to answer any question. And if you know me, you know that no question is off limits, and I'm happy to answer any question. And like I said, I will be picking a couple of you for spot coaching towards the end of the call. So let's first jump in, and talk about the 5 components of fitness. Before I do that, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth to just keep an eye on my bangs, because if you have bangs, you know they get messy real fast and it's not a good look. But in all honesty, I'm going to be checking in on the chat box just in case there's any technology issues or troubles. You guys can just ping me in the chat box. So every now and then I'll be back and forth bouncing over there just to see who's here and what your questions are. So let's dive in. Grab your notebook, write this down, because this will change your life. There are 5 components to your fitness. And what that means is there are 5 things that you need to address in your training program. If you were with me on Live with Holly yesterday, I talked about something called specificity in training. And what that means is that in order to up-level one of these 5 components of fitness, you have to have specific programming to prompt that. A great example is if you want to run a marathon, going to bowling classes isn't going to help you run a marathon, right? So even that's kind of a really random example. That's how my brain works. It's a great example because you can understand that bowling is so completely unrelated to running a marathon. That is what specificity of training is. And the more specific you can get, the better and faster your results. So it's always important to be crystal clear on what your goals are. We're not talking about goals here today, but you need to spend some time and sit down and get really, really clear on what are my specific goals. Because something like to get fit really isn't specific enough. You in your mind have an idea of what that looks like, but you've got to actually get it into words and make it more specific. So what does that mean? Does that mean that you could walk into a CrossFit studio and compete with the men? Or does that mean you look fit? Or does that mean you can back squat your own body weight? What does being fit mean to you? Because for some people, it means running a triathlon this summer. And that's very different than deadlifting your body weight. Both people are probably fit, but those are two different parameters. Therefore, get crystal clear on what your goal is. And if you're inspired right now, write it into your notebook or share it with us in the chat box here. Say exactly and specifically what your goals are. Add as much color to it, add as much specificity to it as you can, because then as I walk you through this training, you're going to be able to pick up the pieces of information that are relevant to your specific goals. The 5 components of fitness all need to be part of your training program to produce a well-rounded athlete. And you might be like, I am no athlete. Well, if you've been with me for a while, or if you've been inside of any of my group coaching programs or the like, you know that I'm a proponent of you might not be a professional athlete, but why not pretend you are? Why not treat yourself like a professional athlete? Because if you start acting like a professional athlete or what you think they act like, right? You're going to get better results. But if you treat yourself like I'm just someone who's out of shape who wants to get into shape, it's not going to produce the same level of results as compared to if you pretend that you're an athlete. So when we look at athletes, they have every single one of these 5 components of fitness to a very high level. Number 1 is muscular strength. And of course, I'm always going to start with this one. This one is the top of the list, in my opinion, but technically, there's no order to these 5 components of fitness. They're all equal, and you want to excel in all of these things, and you want to be rating yourself on each of these pillars. So, muscular fitness isn't necessarily more important than one of the other ones, but I personally believe that it's the one that's going to change your life the most. Now, if you're new to my community, I specifically help women use strength training and nutrition to transform their body and their life in all ways. And strength training is I'm not going to get my metaphor right. My metaphors are just all over the place, you guys. Strength training is the stone that's going to kill all the birds, right? What's that metaphor? You guys know that metaphor. Share it with me, right? So, strength training is the thing the tool that helps to influence all of the other birds that are part of the 5 components of fitness. By improving your muscular strength, you will improve many of the other 5 components of fitness, which I'll go over in a moment. So I'm picking muscular strength as number 1 because I think it's most important. And that is what my audience and my community and what I'm super duper passionate about, because I know it's going to help you the most. So your training plan must include sessions to address each of the 5 components of fitness. Write these down. I'm going to give you the 5 components of fitness right now, and then we're going to go back over each one of them, talking about them a bit more in depth so you know how to use them and put them into your training plan. The 5 components of fitness are: number 1, muscular strength. I already revealed that. Give that a big circle, give it a star and a smiley face because it is number 1. And in my opinion, it's where you want to put the majority of your energy. And that is where you want to start your training program. You want to lay the foundation of everything else with your muscular strength programming. Number 2 is muscular endurance. And it's very different than muscular strength. A perfect example of this is if you could imagine yourself or someone else deadlifting her body weight. Imagine yourself deadlifting your body weight or squatting your body weight or bench pressing your body weight, whatever your body weight is. That is a function of your strength, provided there are a reasonable number of repetitions. Let's say 5 to 10 times, 5 to 10 repetitions that you're deadlifting or squatting your body weight, as compared to doing 50 repetitions at a lower weight load. That is muscular endurance. Another great example is long distance running. Now, you might be thinking, hold on, long distance running, isn't that cardio? It's actually not. Long distance running is actually a muscular endurance activity. It's the muscles of your body being able to produce energy and activity over an extended period of time. So a triathlon is actually muscular endurance. Yes, it's definitely got a huge cardiovascular component, but its primary fitness component is muscular endurance. So if your goal is to become a triathlete or do a triathlon or a biathlon this summer, you're going to do your training program more along the lines for muscular endurance as compared to muscular strength. The third component of fitness is cardiovascular fitness, and I just touched upon that. Cardiovascular fitness is specifically your cardiovascular system and how fit it is. It's specifically your cardio, heart, vascular veins system, and how responsive and healthy and fit it is. Now, to some degree, your cardiorespiratory system is linked into cardiovascular fitness. And it's really helpful to understand that because a lot of people hear cardiovascular fitness and they think cardio. And cardio is actually not necessarily an activity that will improve your cardiovascular fitness. Because again, cardiovascular fitness is a component of your overall fitness and training, but you have to have training activities during the week that actually improve your cardiovascular fitness. So, another way of saying that is going out on a walk with your friend might feel like cardio, but it might not actually be improving your cardiovascular fitness. If you've ever had the experience where you go on walks or hikes or you do dance classes or whatever it may be, but you don't feel like you're actually getting fitter. Have you ever had that experience? If so, raise your hand, put a yes in the chat box, let me know, share some details with me. Because if you are being active, going along, doing your thing, but you don't feel like you're actually getting better, that's because your training parameters aren't stimulating your system, providing enough of a stimulus or challenge to the right component of fitness to actually make you better. And so cardiovascular fitness is a component to your overall fitness because another great example, if you could imagine maybe some of the big, strong male power lifters, specifically power lifters, not CrossFitters, not muscle bound fitness models, power lifters, they are focused on strength and power. Their cardiovascular fitness might not be very good, right? Because that is a very specific activity and training protocol that they're going after that might not necessarily mean that their cardiovascular fitness is where it needs to be. Now, remember, I'm going over the 5 components of fitness. The name of the game is to be firing on all cylinders so that all five components of fitness are high. You want all of these to be high, not just one of them. You don't want to just be strong because then you're not going to be getting the heart benefit or the health benefits of a cardiovascular fitness program to protect your heart, right? So it's important that all of these get addressed in your training program throughout a training cycle, phase, week, or month, however you design your training program. The fourth component of fitness is body composition. And this one's interesting because a lot of times people are like, well, how do I train for body composition? So first, let's talk about what body composition is quickly, and then I'll get into it a little bit more in a moment. But body composition is specifically the percentage of your body that is lean muscle mass versus the percentage of your body that is body fat versus the percentage of your body that's just structure, right? Bones and tissue. But really, we whittle it down to look at how much of you is muscle and how much of you is fat. Body composition means we want you to improve how much of your body is muscle and reduce how much of your body is body fat. And when you do that, it almost doesn't matter what your body weight is. That's why we talk about body composition, because I could have someone who is at a low body weight, but a very high body fat and therefore not healthy. I could also have someone, and this is touchy territory, but I could also have someone who is higher body fat, let's say 29% body fat, who is a higher body weight, and they could actually be very fit and healthy, provided their body fat is below 30%, because about 30% is when we start to step into what we consider over fat or some definition of obese. And so this is tricky territory these days, especially within the body positivity movement. I've got a very specific angle on this because even if you're fit, if your body fat is too high, you're missing out on that one component of fitness, which is body composition. And I personally, as a health expert, believe that in order to really truly be healthy, you've got to be addressing your body fat, your body composition, alongside of your muscular strength, your muscular endurance, and the fifth component. Hold on, I want to shift my notes because there is a sixth component to fitness that some people feel should be a sixth component. Um, Technically, it's not. The fifth component to fitness, and I'll talk about the sixth in a minute or the alternate in a minute, but the fifth component of fitness is flexibility. And so you might know a woman who's strong, who's got some good endurance, who's really great at yoga, who can run a mile and has really great cardiovascular fitness. But if her body fat is 35%, that is technically not a holistic picture of all of the fitness for you or her to really excel and be healthy, because body fat is a piece of the puzzle within body composition, and body composition is a big piece of one of the five components of fitness, the last one being flexibility. And I think that explains it crystal clear. Flexibility ultimately means you've got full mobility around all of your major joints. Now, it's normal for pretty much everyone to have some joints that aren't optimally mobile. You know your joints that are tight or achy or don't have great mobility or flexibility. It is important to have good flexibility so that you can move through all the different ways, every way, every day, move every body part every day. And that is flexibility. And it really is a component of your fitness because, again, you might know someone, I know a lot of very fit, muscle bound bodies that are very tight and very restricted. Flexibility is a component of fitness. So those are the 5 components of fitness. I'm going to dive into each one a little bit more because this is going to tell you how to start to shape up your training plan so that you can address each of the 5 components of fitness every week, ideally, but certainly through various training cycles. Okay. Now you might be wondering, so what was that 6th one or what was that alternate? There are some other experts in my industry that believe that power should be one of the components of fitness, the ability to generate force explosively. Some people feel should be one of the components of fitness, and you'll hear other experts talk about it. I have mixed feelings about that because I definitely think if we're looking at an athlete, it depends on the sport. And the truth is, you don't have to have explosiveness, power to be fit. It's helpful, but it isn't a requirement like these other 5 are. And the truth is, if you've got these other 5, you're going to naturally be able to develop your sense of power, but you don't have to have your sense of power and full forcefulness to really be super duper fit. Now, the 5 components of fitness that I always teach go back to my education and a degree in exercise physiology and nutrition from the Pennsylvania State University, which at the time was in the top 3 universities in the world in my field. I studied under all of the greats who still are the godfathers of the industry. I studied under Bill Kramer, Carl Stadefalk, Nancy Kramer, so many really, really smart people. And collectively, us old school fitness people still feel these 5 components of fitness are the ones that you want to address first. So, how does this apply to you? You want to make sure that you're looking at and trying to assess yourself on all of these different components of fitness. Technology check. I'm just coming over to make sure everybody is good. Great. Heidi Brenner, if I have any technology issues, just do me a favor and post a comment for me and I'll look for your name. And then I know you guys have some raised hands, which is great. If you know that you want to have a question answered when I get towards the end of this session, raise your hand, because then what I will do, you're going to raise your hand and you're going to let me know what your question is, and I will provide some spot coaching for you if I'm able to unmute you. I'm not sure if I set up today's panel to be able to unmute you, but we'll find out when we get there. Okay, so let's talk about how you're going to apply these different considerations to your training plan. One thing you want to remember is that there are training cycles. So you want to, in general, pick a training cycle for yourself. That could be a year, that could be 5 years, it could be 3 months. Now, in general, I don't like to go shorter than a 12-week or 3-month training cycle. It's really helpful to sit down and say, okay, for the next 3 months, this is what I'm going to focus on. That's called a microcycle. Now, a macro cycle is what you want to accomplish in the year, or maybe even 6 months from now, because I know a year might feel very far for you. Although I feel like 2020 really taught us how slow and how fast a year can go. So, from my perspective, a year happens like that. But you might want to plan out your macro cycle, which is a year. And if that feels too long for you, your macro cycle is going to be 6 months. 6 months then gets broken down into microcycles, which would be a 8-week or a 12-week cycle. So you want to plan out the next 3 months. This is what I'm going to focus on. And you're going to address 1, 2, or all of the 5 components of fitness in your training cycle, depending on what you want to do. If you're newer to fitness, you can address all 5 in one training cycle. If you're more advanced, you'll probably know the benefit of picking 1 or 2 areas of fitness to focus on in a cycle, and then picking 2 different ones in your next microcycle. So you can address all 5 components of fitness in this 3-month training cycle, Or you could say right now, I really want to work on muscular strength and flexibility. That's where I am personally right now. I'm all about muscular strength and flexibility because those impact my life in such big ways. And then at other times, definitely over the summer, I'm going to be more interested in cardiovascular fitness and cardiovascular or muscular endurance. I generally don't worry about body composition because I'm always pretty much good within my body composition ish, right? So these things are really dependent on your goals. So if you didn't at the top of the call write down what your goals are, do that now. And if you're open, please share them with us in the chat box. Okay, let's talk a little bit in depth about number one, muscular strength. The first component of fitness, from my perspective, is muscular strength. This is where you build lean muscle mass. This is the foundation to changing your metabolism. Building a foundation of lean muscle mass is one of the best ways to reduce your body fat. So rather than reducing your body fat in an arbitrary approach through calorie reduction and lots of cardio, studies show, and anecdotal evidence within my business of 30 years shows, you're going to get better results by focusing on building your lean muscle mass. So, if you want to improve your body composition, focusing on your muscular strength and building lean muscle mass is one of the best ways to kill two birds with one stone. I got it right. Okay. Working on your muscular strength is going to kill the two birds of muscular strength and body composition just by focusing on building lean muscle mass. So, a muscular strength training program protocol or phase or focus really focuses on building muscle. And you know that's what I'm all about. I've got lots of programs to help you do that if you're at a loss. So, some principles that you want to incorporate into your training plan. I am a big fan of split body part training protocols each week. This is different than addressing your entire body and all of the major muscle groups of your body in one workout. So instead of doing a full body workout 3 times a week, under a muscular strength protocol, you're going to get better results by splitting out your major body parts into themes and training sessions throughout the week. And that really is going to help you get better results faster. And that's different than muscular endurance, which we'll talk about in a moment. Workouts should feature 2 to 3 body parts per workout. Approximately 2 to 4, ideally 2 to 3 strength training workouts per week, focusing on 2 to 3 body parts per workout so that at the end of the week, you've addressed all of the major muscle groups of your body, which I will go over in a little bit when we talk about sequencing. Okay. For muscular strength, your programming should feature sets that have a repetition range, your reps, of approximately 10 to 12. As soon as you start doing more than 12 reps, it's not really muscular strength anymore. And so a lot of people ask me, how many reps should I be doing? And really, 10 to 12 or fewer is the sweet spot for building strength. Now, I know out there in internet land, you're going to hear other male experts say that hypertrophy can happen at 15 reps. Longer conversation. I don't want to get into that right now. You've heard me talk about it in Live with Holly. You've probably heard me talk about it with any of my other formal training webinars or events like this. We've talked about it. I don't want to talk about it today because I got a lot more to talk about. But if you want clarity on that, we can talk about it later. So, from my perspective, which is strength training focus for women who are over 27, 28, okay, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and up. Really, ideally, muscular strength gets developed best for you in a rep range of 10 to 12 or fewer. The rest between sets should allow for about 70% recovery between your sets. And this is usually around, I thought I wrote it here, but I guess I didn't. This is usually around 30 to 60 seconds of rest, 30 to 60 seconds of rest, maybe a little longer, up to 2 minutes of rest in between your sets. The name of the game is that your sets should be challenging enough that you need about a minute of rest. If you don't need a minute of rest, you're probably not challenging your strength enough with the weight loads you're using. Let's move on to the second component of fitness, which is muscular endurance. So, muscular endurance is what you want to focus on if you're an athlete, or if you want to train like an athlete, if you want to compete in a triathlon or a marathon, if you want to be able to perform for a long period of time, muscular endurance is for you. It's also if you want to avoid building too much muscle. Now, sidebar, I personally don't believe that you are going to stumble upon too much muscle. I almost never see it happen with my clients. I can count on one hand or less, okay? One small hand, how many women I've worked with that developed muscle easily. It's so rare. So rare. But muscular endurance protocols are for you if you want to avoid adding too much muscle. If you want to look more like Gwyneth Paltrow and less like, who would be a good example? Boy, that's tough. Who's a good example of a super fit athlete that's got some muscle on them? A woman. If anybody can think of a good example, let me know. Of course, like Serena Williams is coming to mind, but she actually isn't low body fat. And so she's not the exact example that I want to use. I don't know. I'll think of one in a minute here. Muscular endurance training is really if you want to be more slender and more toned and you don't want much muscle on your body. You want to be tight, you want to be toned, you want to look like you work out. It might be more of the yoga physique, okay? Or I have a good example. Madonna in the 80s and 90s, when she went through her Papa Don't Preach phase. Do you guys remember that? She was actually training with my mentor and coming into my gym back in those days. And she was like fit, right? She's teeny tiny, she's about this big, but she looked like she had some muscle on her and she was fit. All right. That's more muscular strength, a little less muscular endurance. So, muscular endurance training protocols, if you're like, that's me, this is where we start to look at higher rep ranges in your strength training workouts. Now, muscular endurance doesn't mean you just go do running and yoga all day long. That is going to improve your muscular endurance, but you still want to be doing strength training. It's just that your protocol changes. You know, I'm going to tell you to make sure that you're including strength training in your training phase and in your programming. So it's just how you do your strength training, whether you're focusing on muscular strength that we talked about a moment ago, or muscular endurance, which we're talking about now. So a muscular endurance training protocol would feature higher repetitions, more than 12, and it could even be upwards to 25 or 30 reps per set or even more. I work with a physical therapist who sometimes has people perform reps for 3 minutes, 5 minutes. If you've joined me for a free Saturday workout and you've stuck around for one of our walking lunge workshops, that's muscular endurance. I'm training you guys to do your walking lunges for 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 4 minutes. Then eventually I want us all to be doing it for 5 to 10 minutes. That's muscular endurance. And there we are doing a higher repetition range. So you would structure your workouts with more than 12 reps per set. Shorter rest phases, 20 to 30 seconds of rest between sets. Very little recovery between sets because we're trying to train your body to be able to perform and output energy over an extended period of time. So you don't want a lot of rest. You want to be able to go and go and go and go and go. And so there's very little recovery between sets. You're only recovering to about 20, let's call it muscular strength, you want to recover to about 70% recovery. Muscular endurance, you only want to recover to about 30% recovery. Not even half recovered. Barely recovered is the rest that you use in between your sets if you're focusing on muscular endurance. What this does is this also creates a cardiovascular training effect. So the two birds that you get to kill with this one stone, muscular endurance, is that you will be improving your muscular endurance and you will be improving your cardiovascular training, okay? Which is different than the two birds we killed with muscular strength. So muscular endurance is going to help improve your cardiovascular ability. And that's going to help you if you're a triathlete, or if you want to do a half marathon, or even a 5K, or a biathlon, or a bike trip in Tuscany next year, whatever it may be. Muscular endurance does help to improve your cardiovascular fitness, which is the next component of fitness that we're going to talk about right now. So cardiovascular fitness is a must. It is a must. So if you're someone like me who focuses on muscular strength and flexibility, I'm not doing a lot of dedicated and true cardio right now. A number of reasons, we won't talk about why, but the truth is cardiovascular fitness is a must for all of us because that is where you protect your health. Cardiovascular fitness influences your cardiovascular health, which reduces your risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, adult onset weight gain, stroke, heart disease, dyslipidemia, and all of those wonderful things that come with aging. So, cardiovascular fitness is important for all of us. It has to be in your week, even if you're not trying to improve it so that you can run a half marathon. Follow me? Let's say you just want to be strong, look good, and do yoga. Cardiovascular fitness isn't as important, but it still has to be in your training programming. It's a must for all of us. You use it for performance and health, not for fat burning. So, cardiovascular fitness component of fitness, this column is about your health and your fitness and your performance. It's not about burning off your body fat. That's a whole different thing, as I've already touched upon, and I'll talk about in a moment, in a couple of minutes here also. Okay. And cardiovascular fitness in your week isn't really cardio. It's not cardio. So cardio is cardio. That doesn't mean you're going to be improving your cardiovascular fitness. So if you go out on a walk, even if it feels like it's a brisk pace, even if you're using the talk test and you're a little breathless, that may or may not improve your cardiovascular fitness. There are very specific protocols to improve your cardiovascular fitness. This isn't cardio, okay? This isn't hopping on the step mill or doing a dance class just to get some cardio. It's different. And I'm not, even though I'm in some ways non-verbally making fun of cardio, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying a lot of people do cardio, but just because you do cardio doesn't mean you're improving your cardiovascular fitness, because this isn't a mindless walk with your friend. It's a workout. Cardiovascular fitness is still a workout. And I think I talk about the parameters a little bit more in a moment, but let me go over them quickly here because I know I put it in my notes, but let me go over it quickly. I do. I go over it in a few minutes in terms of cardiovascular fitness. But the way that you know you're doing it right is based on the intensity of your cardiovascular sessions. So now cardio is anything that's done in repetition. A walk could be improving your cardiovascular fitness if it's intense enough. So intensity, frequency, and duration is what determines if you're going to stimulate your cardiovascular system to become more fit. And that means there's a minimum of time and a minimum of intensity. And that's all based on your perceived exertion. I can get a whole lot more mathematical here and we could calculate that, but that's what I do inside of my programs. And I'm going to be doing you a disservice to try to go over that quickly here because it's a whole art and skill that should be reserved elsewhere. If you really want to dial in your cardio, that's when you ping me via email. That's when you join one of my groups. That's where you really go down the rabbit hole to calculating your target heart rate training zones to make sure that your heart rate's exactly where it's supposed to be. But for now, you know how to do it this way. It's based on your perceived intensity and the exertion during a workout. And I do go over that in a minute because I know I put it in my notes here. Yep, I'm going to go over that in just a couple of minutes. But in short, you have to be making sure that you're hitting a high enough intensity in your cardiovascular workouts for it to actually stimulate your system to become cardiovascular fitness. And that's why strolling on the treadmill, listening to a podcast, or talking to your friend might not stimulate your cardiovascular fitness because it's not quite a high enough intensity. We'll go over that in a moment. The fourth component of fitness is body composition. And what this means is forget this concept of losing weight. Now, I'm not dismissing your need to lose weight. If your doctor said you've got more than 30 pounds of weight to lose, that's a valid conversation. For sure, and I honor it, and I want to support you in that because losing weight shouldn't be dismissed. And if you're the person who's within 8 to 12, 15 pounds of your goal body weight, it's more of a conversation about body composition. I know you might think, but Holly, I got to lose 10 pounds. I hear you. But if you shift your mindset to improving your body composition, it's going to happen better. The losing weight conversation is if you've got 30 pounds or more to lose, 25 or 50 pounds of weight to lose, that's a weight loss conversation. And while this conversation is still relevant for you, those of you that are closer to your body weight, it's really about forget this concept of losing weight and shift your focus into, I want to improve my body composition. And what that means is it's a complete mind shift. Mind shift. It's a complete mindset shift. Okay. And it's about becoming more muscle so that you are less fat. And the way to do that is to focus on becoming more muscle. That's why that muscular strength is at the top of my list, okay? Because it's what's going to help you become more muscle, improve that lean muscle mass so it reduces your body fat, and that is an improvement in your body composition. And we measure that by how much of you is muscle and how much of you is fat. It's a holistic consideration. Body composition is holistic, okay? And it depends on your programming, your muscular strength, your muscular endurance, your cardiovascular fitness. First, it depends on your programming, but it's also driven by diet. And this is where I said I would be touching upon diet, but I don't want to dive deep into diet because that's not what we're here to do today. Okay. Because really, That's a much more advanced conversation, again, which I can help you with inside of one of my programs or my coaching. And if you're newer to this conversation, really you should be focused on improving your body composition through muscular strength, cardiovascular fitness. Those two things will take you far, long before you get super strategic about your diet. So, body composition is first. The things that we've talked about today: muscular strength, potentially muscular endurance, cardiovascular fitness, results in an improvement in body composition. Okay. But it's also largely driven by diet. The reason is, if you add lean muscle mass and you start focusing on building up your lean muscle mass and you improve your cardiovascular fitness, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to reduce your body fat. So it doesn't necessarily mean your body composition gets better. Okay. And there are lots of nuances in that kind of real sciencey conversation. But to keep it kind of simple, which is what I like to do, I've had clients that improve their lean muscle mass, improve their cardiovascular fitness, but their diet doesn't change and they just end up a bigger, healthier version of themselves, but their body composition didn't change because we didn't address diet. So diet is a part of it, but we're not going to talk about that today because I've already been talking for 50 minutes. How is that possible? Flexibility. I got so much more to talk about. I'm so screwed, you guys. Oh my gosh. I'm going to take a break in a moment. We'll go over a couple questions, but I've got lots more to talk about. Let me address flexibility super fast. If you strength train right, this can help to improve your flexibility and your mobility. But you still need range of motion and mobility activities each week. You want to make sure that you move every way, every joint, every day, right? Great range of motion in everything that you do. Each week, you should have about 2 dedicated sessions to focus on your flexibility and or your mobility, which is kind of one and the same, but not necessarily. Okay. 2 dedicated sessions per week. Quickly, let me go over a couple more things because I said I would do it. There's 2 ways to structure your strength workouts. If you want to build muscle, as we've talked about, you're going to focus on using a straight set protocol in your strength workouts. That means you do a set of goblet squat, you rest for 30 to 60 seconds. Goblet squat, rest for 30 to 60 seconds. Goblet squat, rest, move on to leg press. Rest for 30 seconds, leg press, rest for 30 seconds, leg press, rest for 30 seconds. That's a straight set protocol. And that is if you want to build muscle. If you want to minimize muscle building, you're going to focus more on supersets or circuit training. And what that means is it's 2 or more exercises strung together with no rest in between. You keep moving, your heart rate is higher, and then you take a rest after the small collection of exercises, 2 to 5, maybe 7 exercises. You do them all together with no rest, then you rest for about a minute and you repeat them. That is supersetting or circuit training. Okay. And that is if you want to minimize your muscle building. So let me pause for a moment and go over some questions before I come back over just a couple of these last things. So let me take a look at your questions. So good to have everybody here. My bangs have held up. I'm feeling good about that. I love bangs. I'm definitely a bang girl, but this is the biggest problem for those of you guys that think it seems cool to have bangs. They're constantly, you can't take pictures in the wind. They're constantly moving around. They're constantly in your eyes. It's a full-time job taking care of bangs, you guys. Okay, Rebecca, so good to see you here. Diana Di. Okay, let me see here. I want to see what questions we have, and give me one second. Let me come to participants. Okay, those of you guys that have raised your hands, Monica Coley, Diane Faherty. If you have a question, do me a favor, pop it into the chat box now. I'd like to see what your questions are. And I'm going to go over the questions that come up really quickly. And if anybody wants spot coaching, raise your hand. If you just have a question, lower your hand so I know. And if I have the capability to unmute you, I'm going to unmute you and we'll chat specifically about what your question is. I don't know how, if I set this webinar, I haven't done the way that I structured Zoom today. I haven't done it in a long time, and I can't remember if I set it up so that I can unmute you or not. Let me take a look at that in a moment. Okay, so good to have all of you guys here. Lots of questions. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, perfect. So Diane Faherty, I'm going to assume you would like to chat with me. Okay, got it. No, was just raising my hand. Okay, got it. I hear you, Diane. Good to know. Diane, I'm going to lower your hand. And just so you guys know, I'm able to unmute you and allow you to talk to me live. So if anyone wants to talk to me live and get spot coaching, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay. If you want to speak with me live and get spot coaching, raise your hand and let me know, because I am able to unmute you. You won't be visually on camera. Don't worry about that, but we'll be able to hear you. And I want to do that first because we're already coming up on the hour and I told you guys I would do it. So I'm going to do that first. Then I've got a couple more things I want to go over, and then I will stick around longer on the call today to answer the questions that you guys have popped in the chat box. So if you've put a question into the chat box, just stick around. But I want to do what I said that I would do. And so I'm going to go with questions first. So Monica, I'm going to allow you to talk. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Holly.
How are you?
Your session was so informative.
Good.
And my question is about this Saturday glute gang, the exercise that we do. So are we actually then minimizing muscle build because we're doing supersets and resting for about 30 seconds?
You got it. Yes. It's exactly what we're doing. So to share with everyone, on Saturdays, I host a totally free live workout. And the nature of that workout is that we are doing supersets, 2 exercises back to back with no rest. Then we rest for 20 to 30 seconds. So Monica, you're a great student. You've been paying attention today. That's exactly what we're doing. So during my Saturday workouts, we're minimizing muscle building. That doesn't mean you're not going to build muscle. We're just minimizing muscle building. And that is different than, let's say, if you said to me, Monica, I want my muscles to be bigger, I would actually give you different programming.
Right. Holly, but you say that women generally don't build much muscle naturally anyways. So why would we want to minimize muscle builds then?
I agree with you 100%. That's a great question. And 100% I agree with you. I am a proponent of, I want every single one of you who's here today, I want you to be fearless at this concept of building muscle. But Monica, what happens is, clearly you and I are very much on the same page. There are women in my community that are really worried about building muscle. And I don't want to dismiss them. I want them to feel acknowledged and honored. And I want to give them programming so that they will strength train without fear. But the truth is, it's hard for any woman to build a muscle. Okay. So yes, I would have everyone go after a muscle building program. Absolutely. But I don't want to alienate a woman so that she doesn't strength train, because the truth is we all need it, and we really all need to be building muscle. So when I do the Saturday workouts, I know that some women are actually going to build some muscle in that workout. But through that workout on Saturdays, no one is going to build up big, huge muscles. And Monica, there are women in my community that want to build up big muscle. There are women that want a bigger booty. They want bigger shoulders. And so I have to be really clear on how the protocols are different. Because Monica, let's say you wanted to build a lot of muscle. Let's pretend
Right.
your personal preference was to build muscle. You need to understand this because otherwise it's not going to happen in my Saturday workouts. And then you are discouraged. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Any other question?
No, that's fine.
I
Thank you.
love that you asked that question. Thank you. That was a fabulous question.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you back on mute so you're free to make noise in the background. And I'm going to lower your hand. Maybe not. Okay, so Rebecca Valcor, I'm going to allow you to talk. I'm assuming you want to chat. Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello. It's good to see you again.
So good to see you. I don't see you, but it's good to talk to
Right.
you.
Well, the COVID stuff just messed everything up for me. I couldn't go to the gym, my family, taking care of, my elderly mother, all those things. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going through this. But I've got my home gym. Thank you very much for your recommendations.
Good.
We've got it set up, and I'm finally able to get back to my programming. But the thing is, I am so in bad shape. A lot of sitting in the car and that kind of stuff. And where do you start again? Like right back at, it's strength, endurance, help.
Okay. So the first thing is get on a program for your goals. So, and that either means using one of my programs or creating your own. That's what we're talking about today. So, I'm giving you the tools for that.
Yeah.
But it starts number one, and let me preface all of this because everyone listening in, please hear me loud and clear. What I'm going to say is huge because I know many of you are feeling just as Rebecca is. I know many of you are feeling like I am so out of shape after 2020. First and foremost, it's okay. It was a rough year. So first and foremost, it's okay. Second, you feel worse than you actually are. Okay? Really important for you guys to understand. You guys probably heard how Rebecca prefaced this and she was like, I can't remember your exact words, but you were like, I'm so out of shape. And the truth is you feel worse than you actually are. So know that, okay? Because then it makes starting be a little easier. So the
Thank
first
you.
thing is you're not as far off as you think you are. Just get started. It's based on your goals. So get real clear on what your goals are, but how do you start? So I always, when someone is coming back to more regular workouts, I always will have a client work on muscular strength, not endurance, because the muscular strength protocoling ultimately makes you feel so much better. So you start with a muscular strength protocol, and that's what I went over. You guys are all going to have access to this recording if you want to go back over it. But your muscular strength protocol is straight sets, splitting it up through the week. Maybe on Monday you do legs, back, and biceps. Wednesdays you do chest, shoulders, and triceps. Saturdays you do legs and arms. You split up your body parts. You do a straight set protocol. You do a set, take a break, do a set, take a break, do a set, take a break, and you focus on building strength 2 to 3 times per week. And as I said, cardiovascular fitness really should be in there for everybody. So at a minimum, 2 to 3 sessions of cardiovascular fitness per week to start. Then eventually you can add more cardio if you want. But when you're getting started, here's my recipe, everybody. When you're getting back on track, focus more on building your strength and a little less on your cardiovascular. And then as time goes on, you can bring your cardio up to match your muscular strength, because the muscular strength workouts are going to make you feel better. Your strength training is what's going to make you feel better. And it's the one, remember that I said it's the one that kills a whole bunch of birds. So muscular
Yes.
strength, you throw that stone and you're going to kill about 5 birds. I've got to find a better metaphor, because nobody should kill a bird. But right, like you work on your muscular strength and so many other things about your fitness are going to get better.
Oh, great. I have your home program, and that's what I am going to use. And I have all the equipment you recommend. And I love your videos. They are so helpful in terms of how to do things, because I've never done bands or anything like that, but I've been watching them, and I know I can do it.
And
So thank you.
you're doing the glutes project, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have the glutes project. Yep.
Great. Okay,
Yep.
good.
And I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Good.
This is so good support. It really is.
You're
It's
so welcome.
very-
So let me just quickly, since we know you have the glutes project, just get back on it. Okay. Just start.
Yep.
If you've got
Yep.
to cut your workout short, cut your workout short. If you want to eliminate some exercises, eliminate them. The important thing is that you ease yourself back in, because that's what's important. And if it means they're shorter workouts or fewer workouts until you ramp up over time, that's okay.
Great. Well, I just want to put a plug in for your glutes program, because when I was going to the gym and was doing it regularly, people in the gym started noticing and saying, what are you doing? You really seem to know what you're doing. And I looked and felt great. So it's good to know I can get back there.
You
Thank you.
can. You can. You did it. You can do it
Thank you.
again. I promise.
Thank you.
So glad. Great question. Thank you for that. Okay, Rebecca, I'm going to put you on mute so you can feel free to chat in the background. Okay. And I would like to go over a couple of more things. And guys, let me go over a couple more things, because there were a few more things that I said that I was going to cover, and then I'm going to go over more questions. So if you need to pop off, because of course it's longer than an hour, it's longer than I intended it to be, I certainly understand. You will get an email from me tomorrow with access to this recording, so you can go back and watch whatever you missed. Let me jump into just a couple more details that I promised I would share. This is regarding sequencing of your workouts. This is important workout sequencing that will guide your specific preferences around muscle. So this might kind of address the question that Monica brought up. Number one, when you are sequencing your workouts, put the largest muscles or muscle groups first for when you have the most energy. And this is when, hold on one second. Yes, this is for all protocols, okay? Put the largest muscles or muscle groups first, so that when you're starting your workout, it's when you have the most energy. This is one way to structure your strength workouts. The second way is to put the body areas that you want to work on first, like triceps or shoulders. You would put that first in the sequencing of your strength workouts. Okay. So we've covered a lot of material, and now where we are now is, so what do I do? What is the order of my actual workout on Monday? And you've got two choices. You either put your largest muscle groups first, and I will go over that order in a moment, or you put the body parts that you want to work on first. And what this does is this allows you to dedicate more energy to the body parts that you want to work on. So there were times when I really wanted to work on my glutes, so I would do those first. Or I really wanted to hit my shoulders, so I would do my shoulders first in the workout before I did any other body parts. The other option is to always start with the largest muscle groups first. That's really the gold standard in workout design. The gold standard is to always structure your workout sequencing so that legs are first, back is second, then chest, shoulders, triceps, biceps, abs, the 7 major muscle groups of your body. Okay. And those are in order of size. So as you're structuring and ordering your workout, you've got the choice. If you're going to order your workouts with the largest muscle groups first, you would start with legs first, or back first, or chest first. Okay. Or you start your workout with the areas that you want to work on. Okay. Because some people are like, I really, really, really want my muscles to be bigger. Well, then that's where you start your workout if that's your priority. So the standard order of muscle group size is legs. Okay. And that could be broken down more than that, but let's just call it legs. Back is your second largest muscle group. Chest is the third. Shoulders, triceps, in my opinion, biceps, abs. Then, lastly, key things to remember when you're programming your cardio, because I said that I would talk about cardio. I'm going to buzz through these super fast. If your goal is to build muscle, you're going to do your cardio after your strength workouts or on other days away from your strength workouts. If your goal is to minimize muscle building, you're going to do your cardio before your strength workouts, because this pre-fatigues you and you're less able to build muscle in your strength training session. If you're doing cardio for fitness and health, you must be working at an intensity level of an 8 on a scale from 1 to 10. So you're doing your cardio and you ask yourself, how hard does this feel? The intensity needs to be an 8 on a scale from 1 to 10. And if you're doing cardio for fitness and health, you want at least 30 minutes, 3 to 4 times per week. If you're doing cardio for fat loss, you aim for longer sessions, 35 to 45 minutes, at a lower intensity level, a 7 or a 6 on that scale from 1 to 10. So if you're doing your cardio for fat loss, okay, we talked about this earlier. If you've got 50 pounds of weight to lose, you might be doing your cardio for fat loss. It's a lower intensity, a 6 or a 7 on that scale from 1 to 10, and you do it for a longer period of time. Okay. Hold on, coming back to my notes. Ultimately, you want to cap, if you're doing cardio for fat loss, you want to cap your weekly minutes around 270 total minutes per week, which is about 6 45-minute sessions, unless you recover well and you feel great. Now, yes, a person can do 2 hours of cardio a day, but you need to take several months to build up to that. Okay. You can. Cardio could be longer, but you have to train yourself to get there. And that's when we talk about someone who's more of an endurance athlete. So if you're training for a marathon or a triathlon or an ultra marathon or an Ironman or something like that, yes, your cardio could be longer, but you have to take a macro cycle of a year to really build it up, where you're doing sessions longer than 45 minutes. All right, that was a lot, you guys. I know. And you know me, I like to deliver value. I like to give you guys as much as possible. And so therefore, I run a little long. Let me jump into questions. Okay. Thank you, Mary. I so appreciate it. Okay, I am going to take one more live spot coaching person, one more, and then I'm just going to go to questions in the chat box. Debbie, you are free to talk. Wait, let me unmute you. Got to unmute. Debbie, you'll have to unmute yourself. Hi.
Yes. Hello, and thank you. Yes, you deliver value, and the home glutes program. What Rebecca said, I went there, and there is hope. There is hope. 2020 kind of broke some of us down, but we're back.
Yes.
With your encouragement. Holly, I have recently been told, due to my age, that, and I know age is not an issue, that too much exercise is not okay. And I don't feel like your program is too much exercise. I don't know, have you ever addressed this or heard this, that I'm working out forever. Sometimes it takes me a little longer because I'm a little slower, but I don't know. I'd like to hear if you've come across this comment. Don't overdo it in the world of exercise.
100% have come across 100% come across the comment. And what I would say is, generally the person that says that is very uneducated and is misguided. Now, I guarantee they're looking out for your best interest. And what I could say, maybe what they actually meant, is that more is not always better. And I will agree with that. So more exercise is not always better. However, I believe in the infinite potential of the physical body. And I know Debbie, I know Debbie, and I know how old she is. I know women that are older than you that are insanely fit and work out a lot. So I think it's not quite accurate to say, as you get older, too much exercise is bad for you. The real consideration is your exercise making you better? Is it making you stronger? Is it making you fitter? Does it make you feel well? And are you able to recover adequately from your workouts? Because if you are able to recover well and you feel good and you love your workouts, more is okay if you gradually work it out on that big old macro cycle. Now, it might take you a year to work out more and more and more and more and more, right? But technically, provided you're feeling well and you're recovering and you don't have injuries and your exercise is well designed, technically your body should be able to adapt, and then you get to decide how much you want to do. So I think saying, too much exercise is a bad thing, I don't agree with that. And I also believe that there are some nuances in terms of how a person is interpreting that statement. Does that make sense?
Yes, what you said makes a lot of sense. And the where this information comes from, I believed, is based on some scientific research. And I'm going to go find out exactly what is meant by that, because what you say is what I feel. And I don't want to stop, because I've had health improvements big time from my workouts. And I don't feel like I overdo it.
When you find that research, send it my way. It's entirely possible. I do believe that too much cardiovascular activity, we know it adds to oxidative stress. So they might be saying too much cardiovascular activity adds to oxidative stress, and that's true, right? But that's a little different than too much exercise is bad for you. And so I would love to see what that research is, and let's really see what those nuances are, because it really comes down to how fit are you and what can you tolerate and how well are you recovering and are you healthy and do you feel well? So don't let that concept stop you, but definitely stay present to and responsible for your body to make sure that your exercise is making you better.
That makes a lot of sense. You've made me feel so much better. I was beginning to get concerned, but when you feel good, how can you say, I've got to stop?
I agree, 100%.
Or slow down. But thank you, Holly. This has been an awesome program.
You are
welcome. My pencil almost ran out of lead and I can't sharpen it.
I love it. That was a great question. And I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to put you back on mute and you can make noise if you would like. And let me, hold on. I hope I didn't just kick her out. Did I just kick her out? Hold on. Oh, I think I kicked her out. Oh, that's terrible. You guys, I think I just totally kicked her out. Debbie, did I kick you out? Oh my God, I didn't mean to kick you out. Put it in the chat box if I didn't kick you out. Okay, guys, questions. I meant to remove her from the screen, but I think I just removed her from the call. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, let me take a quick look at questions and then we will wrap it up in about 10 minutes here. I'm going to try and go over as many as I possibly can. Hi, Nikki Harris. How are you? So glad to have you here. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, I'm going to go over questions. Let me go up to the top because those of you guys that posted them first, let me try and get them to you first, okay? Simona, do you think it's possible to create myself a personalized training? 100%, certainly with the information that we went over today, absolutely. And as I said, it's an art and a science. I want to give you guys tools to do it on your own if you want to. And I know that some people don't have the budget to pay for a training program like the Glutes Project or my private coaching or someone else's program, whatever. So I want to give you guys the information to do it on your own if you want to, if you have the inclination, if you like to, or if you just need to for budget purposes. The information that I gave you, you might need to listen to this a couple times to really understand it, but absolutely, absolutely, you can do it on your own. Heidi Brenner asks, how do you measure body fat? Because that is part of body composition. I am a fan of measuring body fat only through one of two methods: air displacement, otherwise known as a bod pod, or actually there's three: air displacement, which is called a bod pod. Search your area to see if someone has a bod pod. Hydrostatic weighing, which is an underwater dunk tank. There's not a lot of people doing it anymore, but you might have it. And three, a DEXA scan. In my opinion, that's really only the way to measure body fat. There are other ways to do it, but those other ways, the margin of error is so high, it's pretty much false. So for those of you that really want to know your body composition, air displacement, bod pod, hydrostatic weighing, dunk tank, DEXA scan. Someone mentioned an Omron body scale or the InDesign InBody that your gym might have. Those are both called bioelectrical impedance. I'm not a huge fan of bioelectrical impedance because it's highly dependent on your hydration. So even your Omron body scale isn't accurate, but it can at least tell you if you're going up or down, kind of, sorta. It's not really all that accurate, in my opinion. So don't trip out your head on a number that's not accurate. If it's important to really know what your body fat is, it really just makes more sense to go get a proper body fat scan. But for years I did use an Omron, and I would say the margin of error is about 5% because I would do bod pod and Omron and there was about a 5% margin of error. Simona, what is important to focus on in order to lose weight and gain lean muscle mass? Muscular strength, cardiovascular fitness, and just make sure that you are eating the best that you can within the knowledge and the tools that you have. Oh, China the wrestler. Casey, I love it. That's a great example. Yep, love that. That's really good. That's a good example. China the wrestler. Yep. Okay, Adelia. How can we avoid injury with the repetitive nature of cardio training? I have a hard time finding appropriate cardio training. I prefer low impact. So Adelia, provided you're not doing hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of the same cardio training, okay, your strength training and your mobility workouts are what will help you avoid injury. Okay. So your strength training is what's going to help keep your joints in alignment. Your flexibility sessions are going to help to improve your mobility, and just make sure that you're not doing hours and hours of repetitive cardio. For example, if you are running 10 miles every single day, you're probably going to get injured. But strength training can help offset that. Strength training, once again, it's that stone that kills all the birds. Strength training, when done properly, reduces your risk of injury for all activities. So if you're worried about getting injured during your cardio, really get serious about your strength training, because it will reduce your risk of injuries in all other activities. Anne Marie. So our Saturday Glute Gang is more of an endurance program and not specifically for building muscle. Yes. And of course, I did answer that when Monica chimed in. Saturday Glute Gang is a bit more muscular endurance. Some women will build strength. Anne Marie, you won't. I know you. You've got some good strength. You've got some good muscle on you. You're not going to really build muscle. Well, you could. It's not the ideal program to maximize muscle growth. But Anne Marie, if you're working hard on those supersets, and then you take that rest and you're working hard on your supersets, you will build muscle. It's just not the most efficient programming to build muscle. Saturday Glute Gang is a bit more of a muscular endurance workout with a cardiovascular benefit, and you, a person, will build muscle if you're really using some heavier weight loads. Adelia, how does one assess oneself in each of these 5 components of fitness? That's a much longer call, and it's really hard to do that. The best way to do it is really to just kind of sit down and it's hard, Adelia, that's hard. So let's say, for example, muscular strength. An example would be if you can do 15 repetitions of a goblet squat with 10 pounds, and that's all you can do, your goal is to do more of that. And if in 3 months you can now do 15 repetitions with a 25-pound dumbbell, your strength has gotten better. Or if right now you can run a mile and you're winded, in 6 months from now, you can run a mile and you're high on energy, that's proof that your cardiovascular fitness has improved. So self-assessment is subjective, but unless you're going to go into a very involved program and really document it, self-assessment and keeping notes of your workouts is the best way to do it. Rebecca Valcour, what is the best to tackle first, strength or endurance if trying to lose weight? I feel muscular strength, 100%. Elsa, hold on. Elsa, which one gets lean muscle? So both muscular strength and muscular endurance are going to build lean muscle mass. All right. Those of you guys that are a little confused on this, muscular strength, muscular endurance, both will build muscle mass. It's just that this is going to build it less efficiently. It's harder to build muscle on a muscular endurance protocol, but you can, and some women will. So if your most important thing is to build muscle, you wouldn't do a muscular endurance, right? So that's why I used the language that I did. If muscle building is your goal, follow a muscular strength protocol. But if your goal isn't to build muscle, right? Like if you're scared of building muscle, if you just personally are worried that you're going to get bulky, then you would do muscular endurance. Or if you're an athlete and you have an endurance sport, you're going to do muscular endurance. But if you are someone who has no fear of building up a nice little bit of muscle, go for muscular strength always. Always, 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 always. Elsa, tell me if that answered your question. So Diana Dye, if you're still here, you will get access to the recording in your email inbox tomorrow. You can go back and watch whatever you missed. Orla, for weight loss, should I go for supersets or single sets? So since you've got about 25 pounds of weight to lose, I would encourage you to go for single sets, straight set protocol, split body parts throughout the week, focusing on muscular strength. Because you're right on that cusp, right? And it's really going to help you take the body fat off. That would be my preference for you. But truly, Orla, both are going to work for you. Absolutely. Okay, Diana, let me know what your questions are. Okay, got it. Diana's question is, what is your home program? So the Glutes Project right now, the Glutes Project home programming is what many people are talking about. You can go to theglutesproject.com. You can also go to my website under programs. You can also email me if you just are lost, holly@hollyperkins.com, and I can point you in the right direction. That's the home program. I also have the comeback home programming, which people absolutely love. The comeback, if you're interested in the comeback, email me and we can talk about it. So Casey, ooh, we got lots of questions. I'm going to wrap it up here just in a minute, guys. I'm going to try and go over as many questions as I can because they're so good. Casey had a good question. Casey, how do you gauge a 6 or 7 level of exertion for cardio? So the way that you do it, let's say you're doing your cardio, whatever your cardio is, it doesn't matter. Do my cardio. Okay. About 10 or 15 minutes into your cardio, you just say, how hard does this feel? In totality, breathlessness, energy, sweating, how energized you feel. It's a head to toe, quick summation. In general, on a scale from 1 to 10, 6. Okay, it's a bit arbitrary, but research shows this is actually a highly accurate way to assess. So you take into consideration all of the physical sensations you're feeling, all of them in total, and you just quickly pick a number. 6 or 7 if you're going more for fat loss at a lower intensity. 8-ish, maybe 9-ish if you're going more for cardiovascular fitness. And let me pick one more question. Ann Schuler's asked about BCAAs, especially on a vegan diet. I don't want to talk too much about diet today and nutrition, but I want to answer this because I know you posted it. I love branched chain amino acids, especially if you're vegan. I think they're great. Take them around a workout on an empty stomach. I'm a huge fan. Do your research, make sure it's right for you, but I think they're fabulous, especially around strength training, especially if you're vegan. Yep. So I want to answer Casey's question because this one's really important. I'm trying to answer lots of different questions, but I want to answer Casey's because this is super important. She says this may be tricky to answer, but is there a general rule of thumb for a healthy average percentage of body fat to have? It's not tricky at all. It's very defined. So the medical industry forever has defined obesity or over fat technically. Jennifer Bean, if you're here, you can correct me. I think over fat is what we call 30% body fat. So if you have a 30% body fat accurate reading, not on your Omron, you have to go to a proper measuring device. If you've got 30% body fat, that's technically considered over fat. And if you're at 35%, you're technically considered obese. I believe it's those percentages. It might be 40% for obesity. I might even be able to look it up real quickly, but you guys can look it up on the internet. The medical industry is crystal clear on what this number is. And that is why I talk about this, because if you're 50% body fat, but you're fit, you're not optimally healthy. We've got to bring that body fat down. So even if someone is fit and active and they run and they're strong and they're flexible, if your body fat is within the medical jurisdiction of what's considered obese, you are at risk of disease, and we have to bring that body fat down. So you know what I will do, you guys? I will include that number in the email tomorrow when I send you this recording, because that's an important number to remember. Just remember, you've got to actually get a proper body fat composition taken from one of those 3 methods that I mentioned: a bod pod, hydrostatic weighing, or a DEXA scan. And that's the only way to really know what your body fat is. In body is not accurate, and an Omron at home where you stand on something is not accurate. Okay, guys, I am going to sign off because this was way longer than I intended, and I'm so happy that you enjoyed it, and I'm so happy that you're still here, and I'm so happy that there were so many questions. But I'm going to sign off in respect for everyone's time, and also so that this recording doesn't go too long and I can't upload it. I'm still a bit handicapped by technology. So I love you. I'm so glad that you're here, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me via email. And oh, by the way, next week starts the free Get Back on Track challenge. I totally forgot to mention that. If you'd like to join me for an information-packed free 5-day challenge, hollyperkins.com/challenge. Sign up for the challenge. We're going to be digging in deep into some awesome stuff next week, and I would love to have you there. I'll make sure I put the link in the email tomorrow with this playback. Thank you all: Simona, Susan, Mary, Tanny, Orla, Diana, Anne Marie, Adelia, and Schulers, all you guys that are here. Thank you everyone for being here. I love you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.